You know, it all started on this quiet evening in Willow Creek Estates, right here in our little suburban slice of America. Think perfect lawns, white picket fences, the kind where folks wave hello but keep their drama tucked away. I was halfway down the stairs, heart pounding like a drum, when that knock came booming through the door like thunder, shaking the pictures on the wall. Bam, 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 and there they were, these guys in crisp blue shirts, badges gleaming, radios crackling, with HOA enforcement slapped across their backs in big white letters. Mom Karen rushed in from the kitchen, face white as a sheet, whispering for me to stay back, but Dad, Jack Harlan, he just closed his book in the living room, stood up slow and steady, like he'd seen worse storms than this, and told them flat out through the door, "Identify yourselves, or get off my porch." Those enforcers, they weren't messing around her, so they thought, leaning in close, voices slick and commanding, saying we'd violated some rule about the old truck in the garage, safety hazards, or whatever nonsense they cooked up. And if we didn't open up, there'd be fines, liens, maybe even eviction. Dad didn't budge, his voice calm but firm, like a rock in a river. "Show me a warrant, or you're trespassing." And I could see Mom's hand shaking on the knob, but she trusted him. We both did, even as these guys got pushier, radios buzzing, threatening to escalate. Turns out, this wasn't just about our garage. It was deeper, way deeper. Victor Lang, the HOA president, had been running this place like his personal kingdom for years, squeezing folks with petty rules to line his pockets, buying up properties on the cheap when people couldn't pay the fines, all because he had some grudge against anyone who didn't bow down, especially Dad, who kept his old army truck as a reminder of his service days, something Victor saw as a thumb in the eye of his perfect community vision. The tension built quick, more SUVs rolling up, lights flashing, these goons multiplying like shadows at dusk, boots stomping, demanding entry under Victor's so-called authority, claiming the bylaws gave them cop-like powers. But Dad stood there, shoulders square, eyes locked, saying, "You boys are mistaken. This is America, not your playground." Neighbors started peeking out, phones up, filming the whole mess. Old Mr. Ellis across the street pretending to check his mail, but really capturing every word. Mrs. Gomez cracking her blinds, and you could feel the air thicken, like right before a fight breaks out at a backyard barbecue. Victor's crew, they weren't real cops, just hired muscle in cheap uniforms. But they acted like they owned the block, one of them sneering, "Step aside, old man, or we'll make you." And Dad, without raising his voice, just replied, "There's only the right way, and it ain't yours." I remember my stomach twisting, thinking this was it. They were going to barge in, cuff him maybe, all over a truck that meant the world to him, symbol of missions overseas. Buddies lost, freedom earned, and Victor pulling the strings from afar, because Dad had once called him out at a meeting for hiking fees unfairly, hitting Victor's ego where it hurt, turning a simple disagreement into this power play war. But here's where it flipped. Dad didn't panic, didn't yell. He just lifted his chin a touch, and suddenly, from down the street, this low rumble grew, engines growling, headlights piercing the night like spotlights on a stage. And out poured these dark green trucks, doors slamming, boots hitting pavement in perfect sync. Real soldiers, in fatigues, radios crisp and professional. My heart skipped. Turns out Dad wasn't just some quiet retiree tinkering with his truck. He was Colonel Jack Harlan, retired but still commanding respect from his old unit, and he'd made a quiet call earlier, sensing the setup. The lead officer, Major Reeves, stepped up, voice cutting through the chaos, "Release him now. That's a decorated colonel you're messing with." And Victor's thugs froze, their fake badges looking ridiculous under the real deal. One of them stammering, "We got authority from the board." But Reeves just laughed low. "Son, your board ain't the Pentagon." Neighbors gasped, phones shaking as they filmed the turnaround. Soldiers fanning out, sheriff's cruisers screeching in behind, lights whirling red and blue, deputies cuffing those enforcers one by one, their protests dying out like deflated balloons. The crowd grew, folks spilling from houses, sharing whispers that turned to shouts. Mrs. Gomez yelling about how Victor's crew fined her for her garden lights being too bright. Mr. Ellis admitting they'd threatened to tow his son's car over a parking spot. Beef. And it hit me. This wasn't just our fight. Victor had been terrorizing the whole neighborhood, using these fake enforcers to extort cash, force sales, all to expand his real estate grabs, born from some twisted need for control after losing his own business years back. Seeing Willow Creek as his redemption empire. Dad, wrists raw from the cuffs they'd slapped on him earlier, ripped off that orange sealed tape from the garage door, tossing it aside like trash, and addressed everyone, voice steady but thundering. No more fear. We stand together now. Victor showed up later, sleek car pulling in, face twisted, trying to spin it. This is order, not oppression, but Dad faced him down. You abused power you never earned. Now face the music, and with the soldiers and deputies backing him, Victor slunk away, defeated for the moment, but I could see that fire in his eyes, the kind that doesn't die easy. Of course, Victor came back swinging, sly at first, flyers appearing like ghosts in the night, calling Dad unstable, a threat with his military junk in the garage, lawsuits flying accusing him of endangering the community, all because Victor couldn't stomach losing face, his ego bruised from that public humiliation. Fearing if one family stood up, his whole racket would crumble. Courtroom day was electric. Dad in his old uniform, ribbons shining, facing Victor across the aisle, the judge hammering down as Dad testified. That truck's more than metal. It's the brothers I lost, the freedom we fought for. And Victor's lawyer crumbling under cross, exposed for the fraud. But Victor unraveled further, anonymous threats, slashed tires on neighbors' cars, even confronting me one night in a parking lot, hissing, "Your dad's ruined everything I built. Tell him it's not over." His desperation reeking like bad whiskey, born from years of manipulating folks to feel big, now stripped bare. The climax hit like a freight train one night, engines roaring again, but this time a full mob, Victor at the helm, wild-eyed, leading goons with crowbars toward our house, shouting, "We'll take back what's ours." His final bid to intimidate, to reclaim control through sheer chaos, thinking fear would win where law failed. Dad stepped out, calm as ever. "Go home, Victor. This ends badly for you." But Victor charged, swinging wild, and Dad, with that soldier's grace, twisted him down to the ground in seconds, deputies and soldiers swarming in, lights flashing, the mob scattering like rats. Victor thrashed in cuffs, screaming, "This neighborhood's mine." But it was over, his empire dust, arrested for everything from extortion to assault, the community finally free, cheering as cruisers hauled him away. Looking back, it makes you wonder how many neighborhoods out there are ruled by little tyrants like Victor, hiding behind rules and badges. And what does it take for folks to stand up? Was Dad a hero, or just a guy pushed too far? And those HOAs, are they protectors, or just another power grab waiting to happen? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Share if you've dealt with something similar, or what you'd do in our shoes. Let's keep the conversation going, because stories like this, they remind us we're all in this together.